Grr, arg.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Mixtape Podcast, the podcast dedicated to discussing writing from a writer's perspective. And I also would like to welcome you to the season 9 premiere. I'll be your host for this evening. My name is Marcelo Nostroza, joined as always by my fellow co-host, Dean Stark. And on today's edition of the show, we'll be talking about the 1994 film, The Crow. So, as I do every week, I will kick it over to Dean to take us through this film.
The Crow was directed by Alex Proyas, and it was written by David S. Show and John Shirley, and it was based on the comic book series The Crow. So if you don't know what The Crow is, it is this. Eric Draven and his fiancée are brutally murdered by a gang. On the anniversary of their death, Eric rises from the grave and assumes the mantle of the Crow, a supernatural avenger. So the opening scene, there's like, I'm going to say it's a drone shot, but it's not because I didn't have drones in 1994. But just so the millennials can get can know what I'm talking about. It's through the city, and it's night. It kind of looks like this whole movie reminds me of Dark City. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but if you've seen it, it's like that. Or it reminds me of like Gotham, but it's like rainy and moody, and that's the whole basically movie. So we've got this drone and it goes through the city and it says October the 30th, Devil's Night. And then there's voiceover. So the voiceover goes like this. People once believed that when someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead. But sometimes something so bad happens that a terrible sadness is carried with it, and the soul can't rest. Then sometimes the crow can bring that soul back to put the wrong things right. So now we're at a crime scene, and a man has been thrown from like a 4th story window. He's dead on the ground. There's ambulances. They're covering his body with like a tarp. There's a woman inside the apartment. She bleeds out on the floor. And we learn that this is Shelley and Eric, and they were due to be married the next day. Shelley is rushed to the hospital, and we meet Sarah, who is a young girl Shelley cared for, and she's kind of going, what happened, what's going on? And she's given the bad news. Now, this is an interesting opening. I don't know if I've ever seen an opening where the main characters of the movie dead straight off the bat, fucking dead. And you're like, oh, okay. I like it though, because during the movie you get to know them. But because when you write a movie, you got to get to know the hero, the protagonist, and they got to go through this whole structure thing. This whole movie takes the screenwriting rules and goes, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not doing that. We're going to do this. We're going to go left instead of right. And I like that, because I think people with screenwriting, it's like, oh, you should do this, you have to do this, you have to do that. And this movie just goes, actually, you can make an amazing movie and throw out every single rule and the whole formula of what a script is. But that's it. That's the opening scene. What did you think?
I loved this opening scene because there's something that Dean and I obsess about on this program. And the thing that we obsess about is dropping hats on the ground or telling your audience where you're going to go. And this film drops so many narrative links to where its story to where its story is going to go. This film is all set up and payoff. I love that this movie starts out with a basically a narrator, and if you think about it, the person who you experience the story through is a little girl, not the crow. The crow is the inciting incident to sort of introduce you to the world. But the individual who takes you through the story to tell you about the crow, to tell you about her girlfriend, to tell you about the son of the bitches who killed her is the little girl. It's not the crow. And this film also is all style over substance. Everything in this movie is show, don't tell. And as a screenplay writer, that just works because there are so many movies out there that don't trust the audience and they feel the need to spoon feed you the story. That to me is a filmmaker saying to the audience, we don't trust you and we think you're stupid. But the director of this film, Alex Proyas, confided in his audience and said, no, my audience is smart. They're gonna fucking pay attention and they're going to love the intricate storytelling that I'm putting before their faces. This film takes only 16 minutes to explain to his audience, okay, this is a story that we're going to tell. This is the players, and this is how our hero is going to get revenge for the wife of his girlfriend, a woman who he proposed to. Fucking perfect.
So now we're 1 year later, and Sarah visits Shelley and Eric's grave, placing flowers on both of them, and then a crow lands on Eric's headstone and begins to peck at it. Now, I had never seen this movie before. Don't lynch me, but I hadn't. I don't know why I hadn't. This movie, every single scene is at night. It's always raining, it's moody, there's never a day scene. I love it. I love that it brings you into this like dark gothic world of crime and just violence and all that. And I love how the director kind of did that. The tone of the movie never changes, and I love that. And yeah, anyway, what did you think about, I mean, it was a short scene, but we needed to see, and the cemetery is really creepy as well. Just the cinematography in this movie is like fucking crazy. Like it's fucking crazy. It's for 1994, it's pretty fucking good. So what did you think about that short scene?
The people who made this movie, it's evident that they care about the subject matter. And like I just said in my opening comments about this film is all style and all substance over anything else that somebody at the time was doing.
Mm.
And I just love a filmmaker and a filmmaking team that says, no, we have a vision and we're going to execute it. And what we're going to give you is going to be dark, violent, and we aren't going to fucking apologize for anything.
Yes. So we meet a gang of thugs. They're introduced and they just fuck up shit because they can. Like there's no just because they fucking can. They're idiots. There's like fucking 4 or 5 of them. And they're the same gang that was in the beginning. Were they introduced in the beginning? I don't know. Now I'm lost. Who cares? Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. I don't know. So anyway, the gang is introduced and we switch to Eric's grave and he climbs out of his grave. And I love this scene because the way that Brandon Lee plays it, he climbs out, but he's screaming in pain and he's confused and he doesn't know what's going on. And he emulates what it would be like for someone to wake up, push their way out, and go, what the fuck is going on? Where am I? Who the fuck am I? Like, I felt it. I felt it in that moment when he climbed out. So anyway, he sees a crow and he follows it back to his old apartment where the crime scene was, because he was the one that was thrown out the window and died. He enters the apartment, still confused, and starts to get flashes of what happened in the apartment. So the night he died. So the same thugs that we were introduced to, we saw them fucking shit up in the apartment. They're the ones that killed him. They're the ones that killed his fiancée as well. And then he cuts himself on a piece of glass because the whole apartment's empty. It's been abandoned. He cuts himself on glass and then we see he heals immediately. So it's like, okay, that's something we needed to know. So now we know. He also starts remembering him and Shelley being a couple and all the cutesy stuff. So throughout the movie, we get backstory. Usually we get backstory kind of in the beginning of the character, but throughout the movie, we start getting backstory on who Eric was and who Shelley was. And they were really in love and they were going to get married. And it's just like, oh, and it makes you feel shit that actually happened to a couple that was just so in love. He finds this like white makeup and starts putting it on his face. He also finds a black leather pants and a black top and boots and kind of puts them on because he's more orientated now than when he kind of crawled out of the grave. And there's a really cool shot that Alex, the director, uses of him. It's from behind because Marcella knows I like shots of actors from behind following them. It's a shot of him from behind. He's walking to the window and off to the side, the crow flies and he lands on his shoulder. And then there's a shot from outside and it kind of goes from a close-up of Eric and it pulls back. It's kind of like transformation complete, which is what Marcella was saying before. It's show, don't tell. I would like to say something about that scene before Marcelo jumps in, because I'm going to bring it up. Everybody knows what happened to Brandon Lee on the set of The Crow. Everybody. I'm not going to say it. We all know. But they hadn't finished. This is not in my trivia. They hadn't finished the movie yet. This entire scene of when he walks into the apartment and he stands in the window, that's not Brandon Lee. That's his stunt double. The entire scene. What they did to make it look like Brandon is they took a shot of Brandon's face done up in the Crow makeup and they composited it on the stunt double. So it looked like it was Brandon Lee. How cool is that? And it's so good. You can't tell the difference.
How the fuck did they do that in 1994?
I don't know. But it's funny that if people watch the movie, the shot of Eric walking in of his apartment, that was actually a shot that was shot outside. So they composited him walking in the door. They had to grade it down to make it look like he was inside it, not outside. But if you look at the shot, you can see it's composited, but just a little bit. But it looks real. It looks real. Yeah, so I thought that was. Oh, and another trivia. Brandon Lee's stunt double in The Crow is actually the director of the John Wick movies. So there you go.
Oh, wow. Well, everybody's got to start somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, what did you think of that scene?
I really love that scene because that scene takes place in between the 16-minute window that I'm talking about. When the Crow goes back to his apartment for the first time, essentially being reborn, everything that he interacts with, specific to the night that he was murdered, and he uses those hints or those hats on the ground to track down the fuckers who killed him and his fiancée when he was alive. The Crow has been reborn to avenge his death and the death of the woman that he loves. And I just fucking love that. I really, really do. This film does not fuck around, does not waste any time, and the script is even better. The script is so 90s, so apologetic. It's just corny, but it works. And you know why it works? Because the filmmakers took time to immerse us in a world of sex, drugs, darkness. This is almost like an apocalyptic superhero movie.
Yeah.
I mean, look, yeah, right?
Yeah, no, it is. I was thinking it's like the first, not the first, obviously, but the superhero movie. It's like the first superhero movie, yeah. Because he could be a superhero. He could be. Could be an anti-hero.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and look, and in 1994, the film, those people who went to movies, I don't necessarily think they believed in anti-heroes or in anti-heroes.
Yeah.
Like, was that a thing in 1994?
I don't know. I don't think so. Halfway through, I was like, how did the screenwriter manage to write an hour-and-a-half movie out of this? Because if you break it down, like we will scene by scene, it's literally he kills someone and then he goes and he reminisces. And then he kills someone and then he goes and he reminisces. And then he kills someone and then he goes and that's the whole movie. There's nothing else. The only reason this movie is good is because it just looks aesthetically amazing. That's why. But the story is very, very simple. We'll see. Okay, so so after his transformation, we're gonna start. This is the first thug. One of the thugs that killed him and his fiancée walks down an alley, and we see the Crow tracking him. Now Eric runs, keeping up with the Crow. He's running on like rooftops, and again, the cinematography is amazing. Like the way it's raining, it's moody. It just looks really, really. It's nice to look at. And then Eric jumps down from the building and he confronts the thug. And he reminds him of the crime because the guy goes, "Who the hell are you?" And let me remind everybody, Eric is in the Crow white makeup. So he looks kind of scary and he's got that Brandon Lee kind of long hair. And he reminds the thug of the crime, but the guy does not give a fuck. He's like, "Yeah, your fiance deserved it. You deserved it." And like this, I'm like, dude, it's not helping. And then basically he tries to throw a bunch of knives at Eric. Eric catches them, and then Eric kills him with his own knife. That's it. So that's one of the thugs down.
Yeah, I really, really, really like how this whole movie, or essentially when Eric, or okay, this whole movie is based around a night of Hallows of Halloween, where basically all the sickos and all the psychos get crazy, and they cause shit. They murder people because they can, and the police does it. The police don't care. Essentially, the police only pacify the villains because everything is so fucking miserable in this sort of gothic Gotham that people are comfortable living in shit. I really like the opening scene because everybody underestimates the Crow in this movie because he just looks like a fucker who dressed up for Halloween and who is fucked up. So I really like that the only people who know that the Crow is on a revenge mission from the grave is the audience. I don't necessarily like that. That's a Dean thing.
That's
So
definitely a me thing.
so I want to ask you, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, I loved it. I love that. I love when characters have no freaking clue what's going on, but we know. It's like a little secret. Like I feel like I've got a little secret. That's why I like it. I'm like, no, I know something you don't know.
In general, with movies like this, let's just take the superhero format for a minute. The superhero would learn as he's fighting the bad guy. But because we spent the first 16 minutes learning everything that the Crow could do, now as an audience member, we can have our cake and eat it too and see the Crow just murder some fuckers.
Yep.
And also, these fucking people are like the worst fucking people imaginable.
Mm. Oh yeah.
So, but, did you notice how the screenplay writer gave this gang? He gave every gang member a distinct personality.
Um, distinct. I don't know. I kind of thought they all just rolled into one ball of shit.
Okay.
Because they, yeah, I didn't see them different from one another. But yeah, maybe I wasn't paying attention. I don't know.
Okay.
Who
That's okay. That's
the
okay.
character that is different is the crime boss, Top Dollar. He is different.
Yeah. Yeah.
I the whole time, every time there was a scene with him, I'm like, I don't know if I like the wig or if I don't like it. I just, it was so straight and long, and I was like, I don't know. Marcella knows I'm obsessed with hair. Anyway, we meet Top Dollar. He's the big crime boss, and he's calm and he's collected and he's kind of monotone, and he's, so is his mistress. And it's only when, like, he's sitting in a bed and there's a naked girl that's like lying next to him, and you're like, oh well, okay, well that kind of makes sense. It's only when he rolls her over and he discovers that the naked girl is actually dead, and he doesn't care. He's like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. And then the mistress actually wants to cut out the girl's eyes. I love that because he's calm and collected, but it's like as soon as he sees the naked girl that he's obviously just had sex with dead, he's like, oh yeah, whatever. Okay, I don't care. And that just shows you everything. That shows you everything you need to know about him. That he's psychotic. He doesn't care. His mistress is even worse. He's like, great, let's cut her eyes out. Like, it's, yeah. I really liked the way that he was written. Because usually crime bosses are not written that well, but I thought that Top Dollar was actually written quite well.
I will say that Top Dollar's wig was definitely a choice, and I do love the sort of
Yes, it was. Yes, it was a choice. Yes, I don't know. Look, it's probably like that in the comics. I don't know, but it was just, I don't know. Just kept looking at it like, not sure about that one.
Yeah, look, and I do enjoy that Top Dollar is a functioning sociopath, and everybody else around him is sort of useless except for his except for his first except for his first in command, essentially, which is actually Tony Todd.
So Eric enters a pawn shop. Now, before he killed the first thug, he saw him exiting this particular danky pawn shop. And when I say pawn shop, it's PAWN, not PORN. Okay? It's the accent. It's my accent. People don't know what I'm saying. Pawn shop. Okay? So he goes in and he asks the owner, where are your engagement rings? And the owner basically gets a gun out and shoots Eric. But Eric heals. And you're like, oh, okay. So we know he heals, but he heals from bullets as well. And you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then the guy gets scared. And then Eric gets really fucking pissed off because the guy's just fucking shocking. And eventually he goes in the back, he starts fucking shit up because he's trying to find this engagement ring. And he finds the ring he gave to Shelley because the thug pawned it at this shop. He finds it and then he asks, and then he starts having like again flashbacks of like cutesy time. And then he asks the owner where the rest of the gang hangs out. And then does the most badass thing at all, blows up the pawn shop, not because he has to, because he can. Because fuck him, he can. Thoughts?
I love that scene. I mean, this movie is essentially every gothic little boy's wet dream, right? You know, you fall in love with a girl, that girl gets dead, and you're brought back to life with a mission to kill those people who did wrong against you in who did wrong against you while you were on this mortal coil of earth. Sure, the story is simple, but I think what makes this movie stand out from the dozens of films that are constructed like this is its dialogue and is its world building. If this movie was like rinse and repeat assembly line action movie, or if this movie was assembly line rinse and repeat, I don't think we'll be talking about this movie this many years later. Again, guys, this movie came out in 1994.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what's really special about it. Sometimes it's just really gratifying to see bad people on film get punished by good people.
Sometimes or all the
You,
time? Because for me, it's all the time. That's what you get, bad guy.
you know what? I will concede to that. No, I will concede to that. You know what? I will definitely concede to that.
Yeah. Fuck bad guys. Fuck them. So one of the thugs informs Top Dollar that one of his gang has been murdered by someone. Dollar doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't care. It's like, I'll just get someone else to replace him. Who gives a fuck? Meanwhile, Sarah, the girl, she's on a skateboard and she skates out onto the road, but she doesn't see a car. And Eric grabs her before she gets hit. And when he grabs her, he starts getting flashes of them being friends. Her at his apartment, staying over and stuff, and her and his fiance like being like best friends and stuff. And he's like, oh, and he turns away from her because he doesn't want her to see him because he's supposed to be dead, and it's going to freak her the fuck out. But she kind of recognizes his voice, and she turns around to see him, and he's just gone. That's the thing. Look, that's the superpower I would want. Like, yes, I would like super healing and being fast and stuff, but having the power to say something and then just fucking off and someone goes, wait, where did she go? Like, that would be my favorite. That would be my favorite superpower. Just like confusing people. Was I there? Was I not there? Was I in your imagination? I would love that. Anyway, I like that scene because it sets up a really heart-wrenching scene between Eric and Sarah that kind of comes later on, because this movie is very much an revenging movie, but it's also got a heart to it. There's also a reason, like Marcelo said, why he's killing these people. So that's what I like. It's anchored in love, but there's just a lot of violence kind of sprinkled all over it. So thoughts?
This movie just does the one thing that Dean and I complain about all the fucking time. But this movie does it so well that we can't really complain about it. It's set up and payoff in such a easy, flowy kind of way. And I also really, really love that when the crow was reincarnated, that he kept memories from his past life.
I don't think he kept. I think when he touches someone he knows, he gets their memories.
That's really, really interesting. And before I forget, do you think that the crow, the actual animal, is his third eye?
Yes, I would. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No. I listen. My favorite thing about this movie is not the crow, not the gang member, but I really love the framing device of essentially experiencing this story through the eyes of the narrator, and the narrator is a little girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just think that is such a interesting framing device for the filmmakers and the writer of this episode, the writer of this film to use. I think it's outstanding.
Yeah, like I said, they don't go by the rules with this. They don't go by screenwriting formula with this movie, and I like it. I like it a lot. It's a breath of fresh air. Anyway, we meet Sarah's mum because Sarah's always out by herself. She's like 14 years old. She's on a skateboard. And you're like, and Shelley used to look after her, and you're like, well, where the fuck's the mum? Now we meet the mum who is a waitress and a drug addict. The mum goes upstairs with one of the thugs, and she shoots up morphine. And you're like, ah, man, that's not good. Eric busts in, and the guy basically shoots Eric several times, but Eric heals, doesn't go down, and Eric knocks out the thug, and he goes to the mum because the mum's run into the bathroom. She's shit scared. He goes to the mum, and he basically looks in the mirror. He's standing behind her, and he says, "Your daughter is waiting downstairs for you outside. Stop taking morphine." And the mum kind of like runs out, and then Eric puts you don't see it. You see him starting to do it. He puts several needles full of morphine into the guy's chest, and obviously the fucking guy's dead. Another guy, Tony Todd, that works for Top Dollar, walks in and sees the thug on the floor with all these needles in his chest, and Eric basically jumps out of the window. But what this sets up is Eric doesn't just kill people just to kill people. Not like another movie we've seen where the killer goes around killing random people, which I'm not going to bring up. But anyway, he doesn't kill the mum because he knows at heart she's a good person. She's just lost. He's there for a mission. He's there to kill the people that killed him, and he doesn't want to hurt anybody else. And again, that anchors him, and that makes him likable, and you want to see him succeed. So, thoughts?
This movie is so brilliant in its construction. You know what it does? This movie shows you awful, awful, awful things, but do you notice it doesn't actually show what the Crow does to the gang members that killed him and his fiancée? What it does, it shows you implied violence. How
Hmm.
many times have me and Dean said that anything that the writer imagines and puts on the page can isn't comparable to what the audience member will be thinking when you imply that a character is going to gut someone from head to toe. So I just really love that the writer of this episode I just really love that the writer of this movie took that storytelling road with that little quirk in implying violence but not showing it to us.
Yeah.
And I also agree with you, Dean, that the Crow is specifically here to kill the motherfuckers who killed him and his wife, but the Crow is not above saving individuals who knew him in his past life.
Mm.
That's why he saves the life of the mother who is, who is the mother of the narrator who we are experiencing the story through. It's just great.
Yeah. Yeah. So Eric visits Officer Albrecht, who is at the initial crime scene and is basically trying to be a good cop. He's had a few scenes with Sarah, but I didn't write them down because they were like kind of like a nothing burger. But he's a good character. He's likable. He's trying to be a good cop in like a fucking corrupt as shit city. So Eric asks him what happened that night because he can't really remember. And Albrecht tells him. Then Eric touches Albrecht's face and sees his memories. And that's how I was like, oh, when he touches people, he can actually see their memories because the memory he saw was this officer staying at the hospital with Shelley until she passed away, right? And he was like, oh my God. Now, it's never said how he can do it. I mean, he's a supernatural being. I don't care how he can do it. He can't die. So I guess he can just fucking do it. So anyway, Eric asks him why these guys aren't in jail, and the Albrecht says everyone was too scared to talk because this guy Top Dollar owns the fucking city and the cops are too scared to do anything, which shits me up the wall. Like, why are you even in law enforcement? Like, come on. that's a good scene because it sets up the officer character. But it's funny because the cop isn't even phased that it's Eric, because he even says, I saw your dead body, but continues to have a conversation with him. I'd be out. Be like, you know what? Dude, I know you're dead. I don't know what's going on. I'm going. Okay, you can stay. I'm fucking going. Like, I'd be freaked out. But obviously, if you're a cop in that kind of a city, I mean, not much would freak you out. So I kind of give him a pass on that. But what did you think about the interaction between Eric and the Albrecht?
Before I get to that, do you want me to say it?
Please.
The reason why the cop just accepts that Eric is dead, and I do like your theory that he's just tired, he just doesn't give a fuck. But the reason that he accepts that that Eric is dead and he doesn't, go running outside of the room is here we go, guys. It's my favorite thing to say about this podcast. Are you ready? You want to say it together? Or you just
Yeah,
want me to
ready?
say it?
Ready?
Yes. Yes.
Writers
Writer's convenience.
convenience. Yay.
Ah, so great. So great.
Do you
So
know what?
great.
Do you know what? Before you
What?
talk about the scene, I feel like as screenwriters ourselves, I think in every movie that we review, every screenwriter has to get a pass, at least 2 to 3 writers' conveniences per script. Because you can't write a script like, okay, you probably could, but sometimes you have to write writer's convenience into a script because nobody notices but freaks like us, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes I know with the scripts that I've written, I've written writer's convenience, not a lot. It's not something you use a lot, but you use it sometimes because it's like we just need to get the story fucking going. Like we need to get moving, and the only way you can do it is by writer's convenience. So I forgive writers that do it once or twice in a movie, but when a writer does it like multiple times, that's when I get the shits. Yes, agree or disagree?
I agree with that, and I'll take that deal. I will
Yeah.
definitely take that deal. No, listen. I thought the scene was constructed very, very well. The one thing that I like about the way that the one thing that I like about the way that Eric interacts with the cop who is essentially investigating his murder. The first time that they meet, Eric just has this way about he looks crazy, but the way that Brandon Lee plays him, he plays him with a sense of sincerity that almost
Yeah.
that like like even if this guy is dead, as an audience member, I want to believe him. When you're watching movies and when you're also writing them, you have to also think of another storytelling metric that we haven't really talked about on this show, but I think this episode specifically calls for it: suspension of disbelief. As writers, you just have to get going at some
Mm.
point. You can't do everything right. As
Yeah.
screenplay writers, we try to, but we can only get so close before we burn.
Yeah, that's why, like, on this podcast, I don't like ripping to shreds screenplays unless it's really, really bad because it takes a lot to write a screenplay and you can't plug all the holes. And there's going to be stuff that people are going to nitpick. And, like, that, in my scripts, I'm sure there's shit that people can nitpick and in your scripts as well. And it's the everyday moviegoers. They don't care. They just want to be entertained and then they fucking go on with their life. It's just a few select people, again, like us, that want to nitpick. So the pawn shop guy, because the thing is, Eric blew up the pawn shop with the guy in it, but the guy's alive and he doesn't have a scratch on him. I'm not saying anything, okay? I'm just going to move the fuck on because this is a good movie. So the pawn shop guy, he tells Top Dollar about the guy that blew up his shop. He had a bird with him, a crow, and bullets don't hurt him. And his name is Eric Draven. And Top Dollar basically gets this sword and puts it through his chest. And this guy's like screaming, and Top Dollar's standing there. He's like, "Oh, we should just hurry up and die." I would not like to be on the bad side of Top Dollar.
Top Dollar is just, he's the man. He's like the man. He's such an entertaining villain. He is so great because as we have seen throughout earlier scenes in this movie, he just doesn't give a shit.
Nope.
And that, for this specific movie, is so delicious. It's just so great.
Yeah, he's a really good bad guy. So Eric kidnaps another one of the thugs, and we learn the reason that him and Shelley were killed is that they refused to move out of the building as they were being forced to move because Top Dollar wanted the building. And so the thugs came in and killed them because they just refused to move out of the fucking building. And Eric ties Eric ties the thug to a car seat in obviously a car, straps a bomb to him, and then pushes the accelerator onto the pier. And the car drives off the pier and it explodes in midair, which is a cool shot. Another one of the thugs, the last remaining thug, sees this, and then Eric. Look. Again, I'm going to give this a pass because this is a good movie. Eric, what have I written here? And then Eric lights a match, throws it to the ground, and it lights up a gasoline shape of a crow. I don't know when he had time to do the shape of the crow, and it was just so symmetrically perfect. I'm not even going to question it because it was just cool.
Huge props to the fucking special effects team for doing that. And by the way, guys, when I say that, a group of guys probably did that in 1994. So that was like the most impressive, gaudy, cheesy thing about this movie, but I loved it. It was so good. Like, like, I'm like, I'm just as an individual who obviously knows how the sausage is made. There's so many things about this movie where I go, how did you do that in 1994? How?
Yeah.
Like, just how?
And with with minimal special effects. So everything was practical.
Yeah, very, very minimal.
So now we're at home with Sarah and her mum is making breakfast. Her mum has got a fucking new lease on life because she's just had a stern talking to by Eric. Don't do this. This is bad. And now she's turned into like an actual mum. Now, whether it's that easy or not, let's not dwell on it. Sarah doesn't really know what to say. And her mum says, someone woke me up. So that's the last time. I only wrote that in because that's the last time we kind of see the mum. We don't see the mum again. We see Sarah again, but we don't see the mum again. And then Sarah goes to Eric's apartment looking for him. She doesn't see him, but she knows that he's there. She can kind of feel his presence. She says she misses him, and she misses him when there's no response. She keeps talking to him, asking him questions, and he's not answering because she can't see him, but she knows he's there. And there's no response, and she gets annoyed and says, "I thought you cared." And she turns to leave, and then she hears, "I do care." And she turns around, and he's there, and he bends down, and he has his arms open, and she runs into his arms. And I'm like, you know what? For a movie where he goes around killing people, I was a little bit teary with that. I was a little bit teary. I was like, I really like that scene a lot. Again, the movie has anchored itself in love, and I thought that was beautiful.
That's my favorite scene of the movie. As a writer who pulls from his emotions, as a writer who is drawn to the lovey-dovey, level conquer all to a point, that scene just melted me.
Yep.
Because everything that the writer has done to this narrator, to this little girl, has earned this moment between her and the crow. She spends the whole movie living on the streets by herself because her mom is a fucking heroin addict. Like this little girl shouldn't have to have done half of the shit that she did to survive in this gothic hell. But she did it anyway.
Yeah.
Cause listen, if you're able to, when you're put in a bad situation like hers, you find a way to keep living. You find a way to survive. You do anything you have to do to survive. And I love that this little girl did. And look, I don't know if they intended it to be this way, but to me, that moment between the crow and the girl, with the crow giving her the hug, was a way for the screenplay writer to say, okay, I put you through hell, but now I'm going to give you some peace. And now I'm going to let you have an interaction with the individuals who actually cared about you and who took care of you when your mom didn't. I think that that is such a nice way to reward this character who has been given nothing but shit and the bad end of the stick because of the circumstances that she is in now, or that she has been in throughout the whole course of this movie.
Yeah, I think Sarah is an integral part of the story because without her, it would just be him going around killing people, and it's like that's boring.
She is the anchor of the story.
Yeah, she is. She's not in a lot of the story. Like she's in some scenes, but she brings him back down. And it's like the Hulk, you know. His girlfriend's the only one that can, make him bring him back down. So, I like that element. I think that she was a massive part of the story. Anyway, Top Dollar is having a meeting with his goons and he's telling them to set fires to the city. Now, this is funny. He's like, burn the city down. I'm like, dude, don't you own the city? Don't you want it to be nice? Why do you want to burn everything? Like, I don't understand. I don't like. There's so many movies that I see where it's like, burn everything. Let's just blow up everything, and I'm like, what? Why? You want to live in like real? I don't know. I don't understand that from a bad guy. But wouldn't you want everything to look nice? Like, it's not. Isn't that what? I don't know. I'm not a bad guy. I don't know. I can't be in their head. Anyway, that's. I don't understand. Do you understand? I don't understand.
It's real simple. Top Dollar doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't
Yeah.
he doesn't care.
I'll take that.
Top dollar is just looking for a reason to die.
Yeah. Yeah, he must be. He must be. But yeah,
He has to be.
yeah, I'll take it. Oh, because I have no other explanation as to why bad guys want to like fuck shit up all the time. I don't know. Because he's not even the one fucking shit up. That's the thing. Like, okay, if you're the one burning stuff down, isn't that fun? He's not even doing it. He's not even seeing it. You never see him leave his lair other than like the last scene of the movie. Like he's always in. He's like a hermit, introverted bad guy that never leaves the lair. I'm not joking, Marcelo. That's what he is. That's what he is. Anyway, the scene. I'm going to get on. Just talking about this fucking Top Dollar guy. Anyway, Eric enters the room full of thugs and he gets on the table and he's doing his whole fucking Eric speech. And then the thugs shoot him and he falls off the table. And then Top Dollar's like, great, we killed him. That was fun. And then Eric starts picking them off one by one. He's like pulling them under the table and doing it's a really, really cool fight scene. Really, really cool. I'm not going to go into like the semantics of it, but it's really cool. And he kills them all, obviously, except Top Dollar. But it's a really cool scene. It's shot really beautifully. Cinematography is great. And then the cops come eventually and chase Eric because they think Eric's the problem because the cops are fucking idiots. He's running, he's wounded. He heals, but he doesn't heal straight away. He's wounded, and then he's running across the rooftops when Albrecht shows up in his car. Eric jumps in his car. Albrecht drives a little bit, and then he stops at like a set of traffic lights, and then when it's kind of safe, and then Eric jumps out and runs away. But it's a really, really cool fight scene.
The one thing I like about that moment when Eric comes into the boardroom and kills all the folks, or kills all the bad guys, essentially, he walks in there and he actually kind of gives them a choice. And they all decide to say, oh no, we're going to fucking kill you anyway. I love the sure incompetence of these bad guys. Like Eric, the Crow is laying waste to Top Dollar's empire, but him and his fucking goons, they don't care. Look, essentially everybody in this film, every character for the most part, except 2 or 3, if you're including the Crow, all of them want to die. So it's like Eric was reborn as the Grim Reaper to bring all these fuckers to hell.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, but actual hell, not hell on earth.
Yeah.
And that concept, if you actually think about it in that way, actually makes this film deeper. But to get there, you got to look underneath all the '90s cheese and the '90s revenge action stuff.
Yeah. So Top Dollar and his now very minimal crew have realized that the Crow that's with him, that follows him around, is his link to the living. And if you kill the crow, you kill Eric. Now, I don't know how they know this, right? But I'm going to give it a pass because we need to get going with the story. That's true. But it's a really, really cool concept. It's like kill the crow, kill Eric. I'm like, oh, I like that. I like it. Thoughts?
No, that's great. That is great. Essentially, it's you cut the head off the snake, the army dies. It's great.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is absolutely great. Look, Dean's right. How the fuck does he figure that out? I have no fucking idea. But at this point, I don't care because this movie is all sorts of fucking awesome, and you guys should watch it.
Yeah, it is. It is. The Crow actually, the mood sums up my 90s. The whole 90s I was in that fucking mood. That dreary, depressive, rainy mood. So yeah, I really do connect with it on that level. Anyway, Eric finds Sarah and Sarah's at Shelley's grave. Now, Eric's grave, obviously he climbed out. It's still like there's nobody in there. It's like there's like a hole. So she's sitting at Shelley's grave and she knows he has to go and he's never coming back. Like she's just like, you have to go, you're not coming back. And he's like, no, I'm not coming back. He gives her the engagement ring that he got from the pawn shop, Shelley's, and he gives it to Sarah and he says to remember Shelley and him by. And I'm like, oh God. That's just heart-wrenching. I know. It's like he kills a bunch of people in one scene and in the next scene he's like awesome. Like he's like, here's the engagement ring. I'm like, see, men, listen up. That's what you gotta do. You gotta be epic, kill a bunch of people, and then go home to your girl and be like smoochy smoochy. Not that he was like that with Sarah, but you know what I'm saying. It's the juxtaposition, but I really like it.
The thing that we've not talked about a lot on this episode is how caring Eric is.
Yes. Yes.
He is not doing this because he wants to. He's doing this to make a point. And not make a point, to get revenge on those people that killed him and the woman that he loves. But just because you are brought back from the dead to kill the people who killed you, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to lose your soul. And I love that the writers didn't make Eric lose who he was when he was alive.
Good point. Yeah.
Because who he was when he was alive is the whole essence of the character.
Yes.
If you lose that, you lose everything.
Yep. Yeah,
I'm so happy. I'm so happy that the filmmakers and the writers of this movie understood that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why it was so good. So on Sarah's way home, she's just left Eric. She gets kidnapped by one of Top Dollar's guys, Top Dollar. Eric hears her yelling out and rushes to where he's hearing it, which is the church that she's in. Now, this church has been in so many effing movies. It's crazy. At the outside, I'm like, oh, I've seen that in about a billion movies. I don't know where they. Oh no, actually, Marcelo, I know where they filmed it in Wilmington. If you can fucking believe that. Swear to God, that's what I read. Swear to God.
Okay.
It might be some fucking fucked up part of Wilmington. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. One of Top Dollar's thugs, thugs, the Candyman, Tony Todd, he shoots the crow and injures it. And then Top Dollar shoots Eric and Eric doesn't heal. And Eric's like, oh shit. Because I don't even think Eric knew that the crow was his tie. He was just following this crow around, but he didn't know the significance. Then Albrecht busts in, shooting at the bad guys. Eric, runs up to the Top Dollar, runs up to the roof. Eric runs up to the roof behind him. Albrecht's fighting the thugs. Eric fights Top Dollar on the roof of the church, which is a really cool fight scene. Okay, listen, it's on the roof of a massive epic church. It's raining, it's night. Now I know this would have been shit house for the actors to film because they would have been in cold rain for weeks, but it looks good. And that's all you should worry about, actors, it looking good. It looks really awesome. Any fight scene in the rain looks far superior to any fight scene that's not in the rain, i.e. Matrix when Neo was fighting Smith in the rain. Like it just looks really rain just brings another element to fight scenes. Anyway, moving on. So Eric's fighting Top Dollar, blah, blah, blah. Top Dollar stabs Eric. and he goes down, and just before he's about to die, Eric puts his hands on Top Dollar's face and transfers. This is what I've written down, but this is not what happened. But this is what I thought happened because I've never seen this movie before. He transfers his emotional pain to Top Dollar. And this causes Top Dollar to lose his footing because he's now feeling the pain Eric's feeling, and fall from the roof to his death, which is a really epic death scene. Eric rescues Sarah, and Ulbrich is shot, but he's going to be fine. And this is what leads me to believe that that's not what Eric did. He didn't transfer his emotional pain, because he says a line of dialogue to Ulbrich. He says, "What you had in your mind saved me." So what he did, it's kind of difficult with Eric, what Eric can do and what Eric can't do. What he did was, when he put his hands on the cop when he was in the cop's apartment, he felt the cop's emotion of the cop in the hospital with Shelley until she passed away. So he transferred that to Top Dollar. Now, I liked it, but the only thing I'm going to say is that it wasn't set up that he could do that. But I liked it, and I am going to stick on this because I've given this movie so many fucking passes. But if he could do that, it should have been set up earlier that he could transfer emotional pain, whether it was his or somebody's that he's picked up, i.e. the cops, to someone else. So that would be my kind of only gripe. Thoughts?
I really like that. First of all, I did not catch that Eric could have gotten the police officer's emotions, and what he transferred to Top Dollar when they were having the fight on the roof was the cops' feelings about watching Shelley die in the hospital. I did not catch that for some reason. I like your take on it. However, I am still willing to give the writer of this movie writer's convenience or a pass, because this movie has done so much setup and payoff that I go, okay, you forgot one or two things. It's fine.
Oh, yeah, pass. Yeah, no, I know. I get it. I just wish that was set up. Everything else I can give a pass. I just wish that was, because that was such a cool ability to have. And I've never actually seen that before. And I just wish it was set up. But it's fine that it wasn't. Just wish it was.
Right. The other thing that I like is, for 99% of the movie, the Crow is basically given everything. He's essentially a overpowered superhero. And I love the fact that the one thing that they don't tell him is that the Crow is his link to is that I love that the one thing that they don't tell the Crow is that the Crow is his link to life. I find that to be so critical and so interesting. Like, they give him everything, but they don't let him know that, hey, you see that bird that's flying you around? If that fucker dies, you're dead too.
It's something you should have known.
Yeah. No. It's something that he should have known. You're right, but it makes it better that they don't tell him that.
Yes, it does. It does. Yep, I agree.
Right. Yeah.
So now Eric is at Shelley's grave, and he kind of drops on it because he's been shot, right? So he's bleeding out. He's been shot. He's on Shelley's grave, and he's pining for her. And I'm just like, oh my god, this movie again kills the bad guy and then fucking goes pining, right? It's like a whole. That's what I mean with this movie. He kills and then he reminisces, and then he kills and then he reminisces. It's kind of, it jumps back and forth, but you do need it. But I like this scene because he turns around and he sees her walking to him like a hallucination almost, and she kisses him, and it just makes him, it in a way it takes away his pain. And then Sarah walks to Shelley and Eric's grave, and Eric's grave is all filled in, like he's gone back. That took him back to kind of where she was, which is heaven, and he wasn't in heaven because he was restless, which is why the Crow woke him up. So he's now with her, which is beautiful. Sarah walks to Shelley and Eric's grave, and the crow sits on Eric's like gravestone, holding the engagement ring because Sarah had dropped it, and he drops it in Sarah's hand. And then it kind of, the opening scene is kind of the last scene, but it's kind of like a pullback, like drone scene. And then there's a voiceover by Sarah, and she says, "If people we love are stolen from us, the way to have them live on is to never stop loving them. Buildings burn, people die, but real love is forever." And that's it. And I'm getting goosebumps. I want to cry just reading that out. It's beautiful. Like for a movie where he goes around killing people, it's just directed and written in such a way where it's just like, it's amazing. It's amazing.
I love this last sequence for all the reasons that Dean just mentioned. The fact that this movie is anchored in love, and then after everything that The Crow did, if this movie was made today, The Crow would die and The Crow would anguish in hell for what he did. But
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
in this movie, the filmmakers recognized that we're going to have this individual come back from the dead to avenge the death of his wife and himself.
Yeah.
But instead of holding that against him, blaming him for something that we did to him, when he kills all these people, we're going to give him the ending that he didn't get in life.
Yeah.
That is so poetic.
Yeah. Trivia?
Go ahead.
Okay. Brandon Lee actually, okay. So the makeup artist obviously applies the makeup, right? But Brandon Lee wasn't into it. He didn't like it. It looked too clownish. And so Brandon Lee came up with an idea. Brandon Lee applied his own makeup every night before he went to bed. So when he woke up, his face paint would look worn out.
Oh, great. I love that.
Yeah.
Genius.
Apparently the makeup artist couldn't get it done.
Oh, wow. Oh, holy crap. Really interesting. Huh. But still great.
Yeah. The movie didn't have a massive budget, so all the car chase scenes in the movie are made with miniatures.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Another reason why I love this movie.
I love it. Okay. Originally, the director wanted to film the movie in black and white just to have the mood like to set the mood in like those tones. And the executive said, no way, it's not going to work. So what the director did is he kind of went, okay, cool. Fuck you. I'm going to do everything in blue and everything's going to be at night. But it works better. This movie would not have looked good in black and white, considering Brandon Lee's makeup is black and white. It wouldn't have worked. So I'm glad the executives went, nah, not doing that.
That's a great call from the executives. And also, like, I think by this movie being in color, it required the director Alex Proyas to use his imagination. And I think he used his imagination to create such a interesting and abstract film canvas with this movie. It was just a great choice.
Yeah. What wasn't? See, that was a good choice by the executives, but then the executives made a choice that wasn't good. And thank God. I mean, you might be going, oh, but like I was like, what? Now, I just want you to really listen to this, Marcella. The executives originally wanted to make The Crow a musical. Oh, yeah. And yeah, no. Marcella doesn't know what to say. No, man. Fucking just no. Oh my God. I can't even imagine. Remarkable.
I can't.
I thought you'd like that one.
I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I'm at a loss for words.
Me too. That's my last trivia. So I'm out. I'm fucking out.
All right, guys, that'll do it for the season 9 premiere of the Mixtape Podcast. Listen, guys, if you want to send us an email with comments, questions, whatever, you can email us. Our email is themixtapepod at AOL.com. But if you enjoyed this season premiere and you want to come back next week we'll be talking about a 80s classic. We'll be discussing the film Total Recall. But until then, as I say often, if someone is kind enough to make you a mixtape, that must truly mean that they love you.
The Mixtape Podcast is a Balloonhead Productions presentation.